It appears that Hillary Clinton has just participated in an event with Miriam Adelson for Israel. The same Miriam Adelson who donated all of those millions of dollars to Donald Trump's campaign. As you see, people that are a part of the same class tend to flow together. They tend to move together. So they may be a part of different political parties and support different political parties. But at the end of the day, class recognizes class. And all these rich people tend to move in one accord. Well, shout out to Prim because he was the one who exposed it. Hillary Clinton will speak at an event for Israel Hayom, Israel's most read newspaper run by Israeli-American billionaire and Trump donor Miriam Adelson. She'll join John Fetterman, Eric Adams, Trump UN ambassador Mike Waltz, Biden official Amos Hochstein, and Israeli officials. And here's all their faces right here. So Hillary Clinton is over here hanging out with Miriam Adelson. So do you see how, and this is why we have the ratchet effect. This is why we have this issue where you have this wheel and you have the right on one side, you have the Republicans on one side, you have the Democrats on one side, but then there's that ratchet that's thrown into that wheel to stop it from going to the left of the Democratic Party. So the Democrats, the Republican Party move things to the right, but the Democrats also move things back to the right, to the Republicans, because they don't want anything to go towards their left. So here we are. First of all, John Fetterman shouldn't be in Congress. I called this from day one. When this guy was running for office, he made it very clear about his position on Israel. I don't know why people miss this. He said in multiple interviews that he was not a progressive, but people told you that he was. These are the words that came right out of his mouth. But John Fetterman at this point should not be in Congress. I thought this guy was disgusting from day one. This is the same guy who pointed a shotgun at a black jogger's chest. That's the same guy that everybody was out there telling you is progressive. So should have never been there. Said that from day one. Hillary Clinton endorsed John Fetterman. So that should have been a big red flag to people. So they are moving in one accord. They're both pro-Israel and don't give a damn about the Palestinian people. So let me show you this event here. Israel Hayom showcases Israel's voice on the world stage against the backdrop of the war and shifts in the White House. Top policymakers, influencers from Israel, and the United States will gather in Manhattan at the Israel Hayom Summit. Among the speakers are Mike Waltz, Hillary Clinton, John Fetterman, leading business executives, heads of major Jewish organizations, and survivors of Hamas captivity. So this is what's happening right now, folks. This is Hillary Clinton hanging out with the Adelson peeps. Now let me ask you a question. Why was Hillary Clinton invited to this event? Hillary Clinton isn't a politician anymore. Why was she invited to this event? She's not Israeli. So what's this all about? And this is why I say the Democratic Party has to fully walk away from AIPAC. They got to walk away from corporate money. I don't think they're going to, but they need to walk away from these things. Because you guys are swimming in the same pool with shark-infested waters. So there she is. The event will open with commentator Yov Lamor, Israel Hayom editor-in-chief Omar Lachmanovich, and the newspaper's publisher, Miriam Adelson. Dr. Miriam Adelson. So this, and that's why, let me scroll down a little bit because we can't show the hostages. This is what they're focusing on. In focus, Israel-U.S. strategic alliance and the fight against anti-Semitism. This is what they're focusing on. One of the expected highlights is an interview with Mike Waltz, the incoming U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, and the 32nd to serve in that role. He will speak with Israel Hayom's political analyst Ariel Kahana. Later in the day, former U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton will take the stage for a special conversation. It goes on to say another interview is going to feature Eric Adams and, of course, John Fetterman. So I passed this question as well. Why is Eric Adams there? Eric Adams is heading out the door as mayor of New York City. Why is Eric Adams? He was just in Israel saying, I worked for you, letting everybody know that that's who his priority was Israel, not the new people of New York. So why are these people here? Let me show you. I want to show you what Hillary Clinton said here. Let's go to this one right here because they already got the video up. Of course, shout out to Prim. So this is Hillary Clinton at this event. Listen to this.
That our students, smart, well-educated young people from our own country, from around the world, where were they getting their information? They were getting their information from social media, particularly TikTok. That is where they were learning about what happened on October 7th, what happened in the days, weeks, and months to follow. That's a serious problem. It's a serious problem for democracy, whether it's Israel or the United States, and it's a serious problem for our young people.
And so we all know what happened from there, right? The ADL came after TikTok. They tried to take TikTok down. They started censoring people on TikTok. We all know what came from there. And I have a question. Why is it a problem that people are getting information from TikTok as opposed to the bullshit that came from your mouth, Hillary Clinton, as opposed to the BS that came from corporate media, the lies that have been fed to us over and over again? Why should the young people look towards what is coming from you guys whenever it comes to foreign policy, you are feeding them a bag of lies? Why does Hillary Clinton even care? Hillary Clinton is not running for president anymore. She's not a politician. Why is she still around in this stuff? Why is she still involved? And I don't know about you. I don't know too many young people that are passionate or excited about Hillary Clinton. Oh my God, it's Hillary Clinton. Oh my God, it's Hillary. Zora Mandami's win in New York City shows you that. Young people are not excited about Hill or Bill. So why are they still around? Let's continue.
And it was frankly shocking to me how little the students we were encountering, not only in this class we teach, which is a very large class, international relations about crisis decision making, but students more generally. And that's why I mentioned the social media piece of it, because when you would try to talk to them to engage in some kind of reasonable discussion, it was very difficult because they did not know history. They had very little context. And what they were being told on social media was not just one-sided, it was pure propaganda.
I would say the exact opposite. I would say these young people did learn history. They learned it outside of their history textbooks, which is actually more one-sided. There's a number of massacres and incidents in the history textbooks that are very much whitewashed, and young people sought out information for themselves. And that's what bothers Hillary Clinton. And that's what bothers the Zionists. And that's what bothers the deep state. That's what bothers all of them, is that younger people are resourceful. They are able to find information on their own and not just believe what is fed to them. And that's a problem for them. It's a problem for people like Hillary. We're going to get into some of the things she said in the past, too. I want to show you about this particular issue.
And so when you think about how to tell Israel's story, and it's important, it's not just looking internally, it's looking externally, and particularly looking at young people, because, it's not just the usual suspects. It is a lot of young Jewish Americans who don't know the history and don't understand.
Who are the usual suspects? So first of all, now Hillary, this is kind of insult here, she's trying to tell young Jewish people in the United States that they don't know their own history. When in reality, it's they don't believe the propaganda that's coming from the Zionist entity of Israel. That's really what it's about. No, Hillary, you haven't told people the full story about Israel. This is the same woman that goes to events for Black Americans and says, "Oh, I'm here with I got that hot sauce in my bag, swag." There are a number of Black organizations that invite Hillary Clinton to come and speak. And if Hillary Clinton doesn't have any type of empathy or sympathy for the Palestinian people, what makes you think she has empathy or sympathy for Black people in this country? She just sees us as a means to an end, especially when it was 2016. They just need us for the votes. Okay. So this propaganda, she's angry. And this whole event here, they are angry because young people are not falling for their BS. Young people are seeking out more information. And I want to hear more people call out the fact that here she is at an event that's put on by Miriam Adelson, who is the top Donald Trump donor. Because as much as she said about Donald Trump and, oh, he's got this big money behind him, you got big money behind you too, you know? So that's why when Bernie and AOC said they're going to fight against the oligarchy, I said, you have to fight against the oligarchy within your own party as well. It can't just be fight back against these big money donors that donated to Donald Trump when you got people a part of your party that have taken big money as well. In fact, most of them. But in order to do that, that means you risk your political career within that party, which is what I said before. Those people need to break away and they need to have their own party, do their own thing. AOC is popular enough to leave the Democratic Party, start something else somewhere new, and actually succeed. I really believe that. She has enough followers to get to the point where she can take something, she could take this to a different level and people would follow her. But people want to play the game.
Eric, I was talking to Condi Rice, and she said in an interview that I did after the 20-point plan came out, she and I were on CBS, and she said, when people were chanting from the river to the sea, she would ask the students, what river, what sea? They didn't know. I had the same experience. A lot of the challenge is.
And we believe what Condoleezza Rice says now. So everybody see this? Now all of a sudden Condoleezza Rice is good?
Is with younger people. More than 50% of young people in America get their news from social media. So just pause on that for a second. They are seeing short form videos, some of them totally made up, some of them not at all representing what they claim to be showing. And that's where they get their information. And
so this is the problem. They're mad because they're getting their news from other sources. They want you to believe and digest the news that is corporate media that they put in front of you. And that's what pisses people like Hillary Clinton off. When it comes to this particular issue with Israel and Gaza, because honey, we going through your timeline tonight, Hill. Oh yes, Hill, we going back. We're going to start with more recent. Listen to what Hillary Clinton said on The View about October 7th.
Well, I think that the problem predates October 7th. And I think that's what President Obama was talking about, because let's remember, this is a very long and complicated history. Yeah. Mm-hmm. My husband with the Israeli government.
She threw in the word complicated. It's actually not complicated.
At the time in 2000, offered a Palestinian state to the Palestinians, at that time run by Arafat, Yasser Arafat.
The PLO.
And the PLO, the Palestinian Liberation Organization, which, by the way, took out of its charter violence against Israel. Mm-hmm. So you got to separate the Palestinians who believe that there is some future of peace with Hamas, which believes it has to destroy Israel. Yeah. Those are two different organizations, and they have to be viewed in that way. Arafat turned that down. There would have been a Palestinian state now for 23 years if he had not walked away from it.
That is false. That is a blatant lie. And we know this because why? We know this because Benjamin Netanyahu always refused a Palestinian state. He never wanted them to have one because that interferes with the greater Israel project. If the Palestinians were to have a state, that means they also get a military. He didn't want that either. So we know that is a lie. What she also omits from this part of the conversation, she doesn't tell you that what was offered to the Palestinians did not include the right of return. So because the Palestinians did not accept the crumbs that were thrown to them, which would have been overruled by Benjamin Netanyahu anyway, he didn't want them to have a state. That means they deserve to have a genocide against them. That means they deserve to continue to be occupied. Because I want people to think about the framing of this and how this really applies. We had apartheid right here in the United States. We had something called the Jim Crow South, where white people were on one side, black people were on another side. We had that right here in the United States. Now, Hillary Clinton, back in those days, she claimed to be some freedom fighter, rah, rah, stand up for women, stand up for the black people, woo! But you support occupation abroad? This is why I laugh. I laugh at these politicians.
There was another attempt when I was Secretary of State to try to, bring the Palestinians and the Israelis together. That didn't work out. Israel left Gaza in 2005, and forcibly ejected 50,000 Israelis who were living in Gaza.
They weren't supposed to be there in the first place. And two, are we just going to forget that the Zionists who came over to Palestine didn't eject the Palestinians off that land? It's just, and what's crazy is like Sonny Hostin is sitting right at that table with her. And I'm going to tell you something. I know damn well that Sonny knows better. I know that Sonny is not this stupid or this naive. But because this is coming from Hillary Clinton, Sonny is just going to sit there and nod her head. But I know Sonny is smarter than that. She knows better. So what is really going on? This is the epitome. I got to tell you, this behavior from Hillary Clinton, it really gives me that NIMBY, not in my backyard, white liberal vibe. That's what it gives me, what Hillary Clinton's doing here. Well, we offered you this. We offered you that. And so they didn't want to take those things. And that's why they're still occupied. I mean, what more do these people want? NIMBY.
They left all of their infrastructure. They had a big infrastructure of greenhouses where they were supplying fruits, vegetables, flowers, etc. And the Palestinians deserved to have a productive, successful economy in Gaza.
The Palestinians deserve to have the land that was stolen from them, not the land that Israel pushed them into and put a fence around.
Hamas came in and basically destroyed all of that and killed a lot of other Palestinians. So I think when President Obama says that, it requires us to look at the history. And of course, history holds all of us accountable. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that is a fair statement. But today we have to look at where we are. And I believe it's imperative, since we have had numerous ceasefires with Hamas, all of which they have violated, to try finally to dislodge Hamas and allow the Palestinians to have other leadership that will actually once again work for a two-state solution, which
she's such a liar. I love you, Casey. Casey said she's Miss Mealy from The Color Purple. Driving Miss Hillary. Oh my God. It's brutal, right? It's brutal, guys. So again, doesn't want to get into the occupation. Can we go to part 2 of Type VNC? Doesn't want to get into the occupation, doesn't want to get into the oppression, doesn't want to talk about the Nakba. I mean, you kick people off their land and then you're mad that they're upset about it. It is some crazy stuff when you think about it, right? I want to take you to something else that happened. This was on Democracy Now! This is also Hillary Clinton. This was 9 years ago, and they were calling her out back then on this issue. Listen to this.
And get your response to Hillary Clinton addressing AIPAC yesterday, speaking out against settlements, but said she would not support any solutions enforced by the United Nations, the one you're referring to.
Everyone has to do their part by avoiding damaging actions, including with respect to settlements. Now, America has an important role to play in supporting peace efforts. And as president, I would continue the pursuit of direct negotiations. And let me be clear, I would vigorously oppose any attempt by outside parties to impose a solution, including by the UN Security Council.
That was when Hillary Clinton was running for president in 2016, and she said she would oppose any type of outside interference from the UN Security Council about the settlements in the West Bank. So Hamas was not in the West Bank. So Hillary Clinton was going against the UN Security Council. So people wonder, how would things have been if Hillary would have won on this issue? She letting you know. At that point in time, Democracy Now! Was calling her out because they felt like this video was titled, "Is Clinton Moving to the Right of Trump on Israel and Palestine?"
Yusuf Munir.
These are extremely empty words, and I think it really highlights the corruption of U.S. policy on this very issue, specifically the issue of settlements. You know, in the late 1960s, in 1968, there was a national intelligence estimate that was put together regarding Israel after they had began their occupation of Palestinian territory in the West Bank and Gaza. And it said that if the Israelis continue to occupy this territory for 2 to 3 years and build settlements there, it'll be impossible for them to turn back the land. That was in 1968. As recently as last week, the Israelis continued again to expropriate land deep inside the West Bank, this time outside of Jericho, in an area that's nowhere near the Green Line. And the response from the State Department was simply, well, you know, we find this troubling and it leads us to question the intentions of the Israelis and whether or not they're committed.
So I show you this, guys, to show you this has been going on for a long time. And Hillary Clinton, that was her speaking at an AIPAC event. And then I want to take you back here 15 years ago. I'm going to show you how she changed over the years. 15 years ago, this is what she had to say. It was titled, "Israeli Building Hurts Peace." Listen to this.
Given the shared challenges we face, the relationship between the United States and Israel has never been more important. The United States has long recognized that a strong and secure Israel is vital to our own strategic interests. Last fall, I stood next to Prime Minister Netanyahu in Jerusalem and praised his government's decision to place a moratorium on new residential construction in the West Bank.
That's when, even back then, she was working with Benjamin Netanyahu. And she made it very clear that what was happening, what Israel was doing, was important to U.S. strategic interests. Let me tell you what that really means. That the United States government also wanted the Palestinian people gone. This whole idea of a two-state solution, that is just a carrot that they've been dangling over the years. That includes Hillary Clinton, that includes George W. Bush, Donald Trump, Barack Obama, and of course, Joe Biden. Kamala Harris would have been on that same path. That's why she was also taking money from AIPAC. So that two-state solution, that's just a carrot that's just dangled, just to hush up the pro-Palestinian activists. And you see how this is going. So everything you see here, this whole timeline, this is why Hillary Clinton is at that event with Miriam Adelson. So this has been the plan. And I wanted you to see where it all came from.
And then
I praised it again in Cairo and in Marrakesh and in many places far from Jerusalem to make clear that this was a first step, but it was an important first step. And yes, I underscored the long-standing American policy that does not accept the legitimacy of continued settlements. New construction in East Jerusalem or the West Bank undermines that mutual trust and endangers the proximity talks that are the first step toward the full negotiations that both sides say they want and need.
Now, 15 years ago, she said new settlements and Israel building, new settlements hurts that work towards peace that they were trying to do. And it hurts that idea for a Palestinian state, which they knew was never going to happen anyway. This is her speaking again at AIPAC, right? So how did she go from that to fast forward to 2016 and she says that she will not accept an outside force like the UN Security Council, which she called them out by name, telling them what can happen and what can't happen? You just going to throw out the United Nations? Notice how I show you this to show you. Notice how she shifted more harsher when she started to run in 2016. This is the evolution. And I point this out because it happens to other politicians too. So pay attention, folks.
And it exposes daylight between Israel and the United States that others in the region hope to exploit. It undermines America's unique ability to play a role, an essential role in the peace process.
No peace process, right? Guys, they've been talking about this for years. See, this was never really a plan. Then we go back to what year is this? Also, 15 years ago. I want you to see what she said here. They've been talking about this, guys. This whole two-state solution, they've been talking about this for years. They were never actively trying to get this accomplished. They were always in the bag of AIPAC.
On behalf of the United States government, I've invited Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu and Palestinian Authority President Abbas to meet on September 2nd in Washington, D.C., to relaunch direct negotiations to resolve all final status issues, which we believe can be completed within 1 year.
Benjamin Netanyahu again. This was all a lie. He never approved of a two-state solution. So 15 years ago, that video here, that is how long Hillary Clinton has been dangling that carrot, some longer than others. They've been doing this. So when we say how low can you go? Can you take it to the floor? You guys know the song, the Cha-Cha Real Smooth song. Hillary Clinton will go as low as they let her go. And when it comes to the Israel, Gaza, and Israel West Bank issue, she's always going to back Israel. She signed her soul away a long time ago. People need to understand, I really do believe there were some politicians in Congress, and they said that they had to take this oath to always support Israel. I really do believe they got some secret societies going on around here too. I believe the same way you have secret societies, I guess they're not really secretive, but the Rotary Club, the Masons, all that type of stuff. I wouldn't be surprised if they got some other kind of societies that are going on that is mainly just politicians and billionaires. I don't know. Maybe you can call them elite mafia. I don't know. But I believe these people took some type of oath that's more than just yes, I promise to serve and protect Israel. Why are you even doing that? And we live in the United States. Hello. But I really think these people really signed their soul away. And I really do feel like it's one of those games that once you get in and once you become a part of it, you either play that game or they're going to get rid of you. And they can get rid of you in different ways. So I don't know. But that matchup with her and Miriam Adelson, how does that make her, when it comes to this issue with Israel, how does that make her better than Trump? When they both they both shaking hands at the same table with the same devil. Hey guys, this was a Sabby clip. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe.